Chapter 236. The completed Lone Peak kill was extremely horrifying. Before, 1 meter was the best attacking distance for the Lone Peak kill. But after reaching completion, that distance had increased to 3 meters. Within 3 meters, with one sword attack, the enemy would have the illusion that they were thousands of miles away from each other. No matter how fast the enemy's sword art was, it would still be impossible for them to attack in one go. So, they would have plenty of time to defend or counterattack. In a battle between powerful warriors, even the slightest mistake could be fatal. This was exactly the purpose of the Lone Peak kill. Right now, Yichen wanted to make this poetic perspective more natural, to merge with the nature, so that warriors with powerful mental power would not be able to tell the difference between real and fake. As for how to make it natural and merge with the nature, according to Yichen's plan, it would be to observe the mountains and the rivers, to find the pattern. Mountains had their own height, but they did not move at all. Water could be hard or soft, but it would never stop flowing. Combining the two together, one being still and the other being active, they would contradict each other, but they would also be in perfect harmony. It was a realm that was hard to reach with human power. Yichen suddenly remembered the 3 levels of Buddhism training. At the first level, mountains were mountains, and water were water. This was the beginning of training, where one could only see the surface of things, but not the essence. At the second level, mountains were not mountains, and water were not water. After reaching a certain level, one would be able to see the essence of things from the surface, and would not be confused by the naked eye. At the third level, mountains were still mountains, and water were still water. At this level, one would be able to enter the realm of selflessness, and mountains and rivers would no longer be a hindrance to oneself. Right now, Yichen was still at the level where mountains were mountains, and water were still water. But of course, compared to normal warriors, his realm was way higher. At least he was already close to the essence of things, while the others were still in a blur, clinging to what they saw in front of them. If I could reach the level where mountains were not mountains, and water were not water, not to mention the Lone Peak kill, even the sky-shattering clouds would be completely merged with it, and even more poetic perspectives, or even more. These 3 levels of Buddhism seemed to contain everything, and the gap was huge. Even if it was only 1 level, the gap between them would be like the sky and the abyss. Yichen did not expect to reach the second level. In fact, it was useless to hope for it. The second level was too far away from him. Seeing through the essence of things was already close to the realm of the heavenly Tao. It was impossible to comprehend it even if he wanted to. He could only accumulate it step by step. If the first level was divided into 3 stages, then Yichen was only in the second stage. The only thing he could do was to use the second stage to perfect the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak kill. On the first day, Yichen observed the nearby mountains and rivers. The next day, Yichen observed the mountains and rivers within a radius of 5 kilometers. On the third day, Yichen was observing the landscape of the Snake Island. From the small environment to the big environment, Yichen's comprehension became deeper and deeper. The so-called mountains and rivers were like an ink painting in his eyes, full of artistic conception. Today, Yichen left the Snake Island and stepped into the Star Regional Lake. On the Star Regional Lake, the water was sparkling. It was endless. Looking from afar, the sky and the water seemed to be connected. Stepping on the lake water, Yichen entered a mysterious realm. He no longer tried to comprehend the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak kill. Instead, it went from intentional to unintentional. But it would not be correct to say that it was unintentional, because his goal was indeed to comprehend the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak kill. This way, it would be closer to nature. In front of him, the surface of the lake was shaking. 3 clasping Yuan realm warriors were attacking a rank 6 beast together. It was an intense battle. Under his feet, the surface of the lake started to ripple. Yichen's mind was suddenly enlightened. It turned out that what the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak kill lacked was a sense of reality. The mountain did not move, and the water flowed. This was the most rigid state. It looked like it was still and moving, but it was actually silent. The mountain was because of its height, so there should be wind blowing through it. The river was because of its softness, so it should be wrinkled by the wind, reflecting the mountain, the trees, and even the plants. A light smile appeared on his face as Yi Chen walked towards the battle site. The three saw Yi Chen from afar, their faces full of caution. Shoo! Extending his body, Yi Chen appeared within 10 meters of the three within a second. Right at this moment, an extremely strange scene happened. The three of them felt like time had slowed down. Yi Chen was slowly walking towards them from thousands of miles away. He was very, very far away from them. That rank 6 demonic beast with bloodshot eyes was the same. It also didn't notice that Yi Chen had already arrived in front of it. Reaching out his hand to touch the head of the rank 6 beast, Yi Chen flashed his body and flew out, leaving this place. The three people and the beast came back to their senses. When they saw that Yi Chen was already on the other side, they were extremely shocked, as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? He was so far away. How could he be behind us? Is he a ghost? Are you kidding me? It is broad daylight right now. The rank 6 beast's eyes were wide open. Its claws could not help but touch its head. In a blur, it felt like someone had touched it. All of a sudden, a cold feeling spread through its body. All of its hair stood up, and it was in an extremely terrified state. Fuck! This rank 6 beast is going crazy. Even its hair is standing up. One of them saw the rank 6 beast's hair stand up. He thought that it was going to kill them, so he yelled out. On a tall mountain on an island far away, the Lone Peak Kill's sword movement and poetic perspective have reached completion. Now I need to learn the sky-shattering clouds. Yi Chen shot up into the sky, shooting towards the clouds. In the Windy Nation. In the main hall of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Besides the leader and all the inner masters, there were 3 other people standing in the hall. Yi Chen was familiar with these 3 people. They were Su Jing, Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei. Luo Xinglia looked at the 4 people down below, feeling quite proud. Who could have thought that after Yi Chen and Su Jing, Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei had both reached the early clasping Yuan realm. Now, the Sky Cloud Martial School had a total of 4 core disciples who had reached the clasping Yuan realm, which was way more powerful than the other martial institutions in the Windy Nation. As far as he knew, after the first and second core disciples of the Purple Sun Martial School had died in the Heavenly Dream Ancient Place, only one of them had reached the early clasping Yuan realm. The South Rudra Martial School had 2, the first core disciple Qin Yulian and the second core disciple Nangong Yun. The North Snow Martial Academy had 3 core disciples, the North Snow Child, Lynch and the Tyrant Blade Yu Yu. Just like the North Snow Martial Academy, the Emerald Martial Palace also had 3 people, Young Master Emerald Zhuang Fei, Extreme Palm Lu Wuxiang, and Ji Xuan. Ji Xuan was indeed talented. She had surpassed the original 3rd core disciple, Shirpatian, and was even more powerful than Lu Wuxiang. She was only second to the Emerald Child, Zhuang Fei. Even Luo Xinglia was quite shocked, since Ji Xuan's training time was way too short. Even so, the Sky Cloud Martial School had 4 core disciples who had reached the clasping Yuan realm, which was something that none of the top 4 martial institutions, including the Emerald Martial Academy, could compare with. The reason why the 3 of them were gathered today was for the South Rudra region's Hidden Dragon rank competition, which was held every 3 years. Chapter 237. The competition of the Hidden Dragon rank was held once every 3 years. All the young warriors under the age of 24 could participate, regardless of their status. There were hundreds of billions of people in the South Rudra region, and there were countless young warriors and martial geniuses. However, there would only be 72 people on the Hidden Dragon rank. Once one made it onto the Hidden Dragon rank, it would be a great honor and glory. In fact, the young warriors on the Hidden Dragon rank were even more famous than most of the Astral Reaching Realm warriors, because the number of Astral Reaching Realm warriors was way more than 72 people, while there were only 72 people on the Hidden Dragon rank. However, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition was the most popular one in the past 1,000 years. The qualification to participate directly went beyond the Condensing Reality realm and reached the Clasping Yuan realm. In other words, without reaching the Clasping Yuan realm, no matter how powerful one was, one would not be able to participate in the competition. Of course, many of the young warriors who had reached the late Condensing Reality realm and were able to challenge those with higher cultivation would feel that it was unfair. If they had the chance, they would still be able to be famous in the South Rudra region. Unfortunately, it was different now. There were way too many young warriors who had reached the Clasping Yuan realm. You could beat normal early Clasping Yuan realm warriors, but there were so many Clasping Yuan realm warriors participating in the competition. Any mid-Clasping Yuan realm warrior could easily knock you out. It would be impossible for you to compete for the 72 places on the ranking. Even early Clasping Yuan realm warriors would not be able to compete with you. Luo Xinglie glanced at the three of them, and finally landed on Su Jing. During the past year, her cultivation had not improved much. She was still at the early Clasping Yuan realm, and was still quite a distance away from the peak-level early Clasping Yuan realm. She was slightly weaker than Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei. However, during the competition, Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei could not even take 3 punches from her. Some of the inner masters had also admitted that they could not compete with Su Jing, which had surprised Luo Xinglie a lot. He wondered what had happened to Su Jing during the past year. Everyone had their own secrets. As long as they were loyal enough to the martial institution, Luo Xinglie would not ask about it. On the contrary, he was quite happy about it. With Su Jing's help, the Sky Cloud Martial School might be able to shine in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions and not lose too badly. Indeed, the Hidden Dragon rank competition that only happens once every 3 years will be held in less than 2 months. This year's competition will be the most prestigious one in the past 1,000 years, and the qualification to participate will be raised to the Clasping Yuan realm. There are so many disciples in the Sky Cloud Martial School, but only the 3 of you and Yichen have reached the Clasping Yuan realm. Therefore, you will be representing the Sky Cloud Martial School in this year's competition. Is there any problem? Luo Xinglie cleared his throat and asked. No problem. Luo Xinglie nodded and smiled, very well. Before you join the competition, the headmaster will explain to you all the things that you need to pay attention to. The headmaster took over and said, the Hidden Dragon rank competitions are divided into 3 stages. The first stage is the 3 challenges of the Dragon Door, the second stage is the elimination competition, and the third stage is the ranking competition. The first challenge is the wall-breaking challenge. Those who do not have enough attacking power will be eliminated immediately. The second challenge is the Getting Jade Tag, and those who do not have the Jade Tag will be eliminated as well. The last challenge is the most difficult one, which is called the Jumping Dragon Gate. Only those who manage to make it through will be able to officially compete on the stage, and those who fail will still be eliminated. Normally, 70% of the people would fail in these 3 challenges, and only 30% would make it through. I hope that all of you can make it through these 3 challenges and join the knockout competitions. The 3 of them had never participated in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions before. Hearing them, except for Su Jing, the rest of them were a little bit surprised. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Door sounded very difficult, but 70% of the people had failed in these 3 stages. It was a horrifying ratio. The headmaster glanced at Su Jing, then said to Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei, you 2 have reached the Clasping Yuan realm a bit too late after all. You have not accumulated enough power yet. At the crucial moment, you need to use your brain, and not just use brute force. Yes, headmaster. Luo Hanshan tightened his fists. He had missed the Hidden Dragon rank competition last time, so he had to succeed this time. He had to at least make it through the 3 challenges of the Dragon Door. As for the elimination competition, it is actually a competition for points. Because of the competition being so intense, even if you do not get injured from the beginning to the end, you will still feel tired mentally. Therefore, during the elimination competition, you can choose to give up if you run into an opponent that you cannot win against. But of course, if you are able to fight against an opponent, you better not give up. It will be a test for you, and you might be able to make a breakthrough during the competition. Right then, Luo Xinglie said, "Alright, that's all you need to pay attention to. The most important thing is still your own power. The rest is just a small thing. You guys can leave now. Get ready, we will go to the competition venue tomorrow, the Hidden Dragon Ancient City." Waiting until the three left, Luo Xinglie looked around and said, "What do you guys think about the three of them?" Most of the people shook their heads. An inner master said, "Su Jing has a chance to make it into the top 100. Hans Han and Zhu Mei will be in danger. The three challenges of the Dragon Door will be a challenge for them. Indeed, they have just reached the clasping Yuan realm not long ago, it would be a bit difficult for them." Another person said. Luo Xinglie knocked on the arm of his chair, laughed and said, "It is already a surprise to have Su Jing. Not to mention, we still have the biggest ace in the hole. Yi Chen. I wonder how powerful he has become after 1 year of training." The head master showed a smile, he was quite expectant. The fourth master said, "Of course. With this brat's talent, he might have reached the mid-clasping Yuan realm. Added with his sword intent, he would have a chance to make it into the list." He, I agree with the fourth master. Most of the inner masters still liked Yi Chen, and had listed him as a rare martial genius of the Sky Cloud Martial School. But some of them were more pessimistic. On the path of training, although talent and hard work are important, 1 year is still too short. I am afraid it is not going to be a good thing. To be honest, Yi Chen is indeed a rare martial genius of our Sky Cloud Martial School. But even geniuses need to take a nap. He might not be able to grow fast all the time. He might have to stop for a while at some point. Training is a good thing, it would help him grow faster. But who can be sure that 1 year of training would be better than 1 year of hard training? After all, there would be too many things during training, and it would be easy to get distracted. On the other hand, with hard training, you would not waste any of your time. The head master argued, everything has its pros and cons. Without a doubt, training would be more beneficial than that. With Yi Chen's calm personality, he would know what his goal is, and he would definitely work towards it. Luo Xinglie stopped everyone's discussion, "You all have a point. But as a member of the Sky Cloud Martial School, you should have confidence in your disciples. No matter what kind of environment a genius is in, they would always be different. A genius who could not handle all kinds of challenges would not be able to achieve much no matter how much resources we give him." With his experience, he actually had a lot of confidence in Yi Chen. But of course, he had the same opinion as the fourth master. He thought that Yi Chen's current cultivation should be at the mid-clasping Yuan realm, and his sword intent might have improved a little. With the combination of the two, he might be able to get into the top 72. Oh right, Yi Chen would not miss the competition, would he? Suddenly, someone asked. The head master shook his head, no, he would not. People who have learned the sword intent would not break their promise, unless... The head master did not finish his sentence. The training would be extremely dangerous, and he hoped that Yi Chen would be able to join the competition safely. 10,000 meters in the sky, the sea of clouds was rolling, and everything was white. In the middle of the sea of clouds, Yi Chen held up his star-scar sword with both of his hands. He closed his eyes slightly, and stood still like a mountain. This time, he did not use his soul power. He was purely using the poetic perspective of the sky-shattering clouds to feel the pattern and mystery of the sea of clouds, trying to find a way to break through. Break. The second the sea of clouds and the poetic perspective seemed to be in harmony, Yi Chen threw out his sword attack. It was a very simple sword attack. There was no wind-breaking sound, no bright sword chi, but that unbreakable exploding power that could destroy everything and cut everything into pieces. Pooh! The sword pressure made contact with the sea of clouds. Within hundreds of meters, the sea of clouds looked like it had been torn into pieces. They flew everywhere, and could not gather back together. No, it's still lacking a little. It seems like something is missing. Yichen opened his eyes and shook his head. He had stayed in the sea of clouds for 3 days and 3 nights. If it were not for the pellets that could instantly replenish Shin Qi, his mysterious Shin Qi would not be able to support him to stay in the sky for a long time. In these 3 days, there was nothing but the sea of clouds in his eyes. He thought that with the 70% sword intent as his support, it would be much easier, since it was only combining the 4th movement of the Sky Cloud Sword Art, which would be much easier than the completed Lone Peak Kill sword movement and poetic perspective. Unfortunately, he had guessed wrong. The Lone Peak Kill and the Sky Shattering Clouds were 2 different areas. Without reaching an extremely high realm, there would be no way to find the similarities between them. Therefore, combining the sky-shattering clouds would have to start all over again, and it had nothing to do with what he had learned from the Lone Peak Kill. Pap! The sunny weather suddenly darkened. The first of the 3 sky, the surprising sky, had thunder yuan chi pouring down, turning into bright lightning and shooting into the sea of clouds. The sea of clouds seemed to have gained an endless amount of power. It kept rolling, and the color had turned from white to black. It looked like an ancient demon god was about to wake up and punish the land. Thunder, cloud, exploding power. Yichen did not try to avoid the attack of the lightning. Although the thunder yuan chi in the surprising sky could kill warriors below the astral reaching realm, once it came down from the surprising sky, it would be mixed with a lot of other chi, which would decrease its power by a lot. It would not affect Yichen at all. I see. Just learning the clouds is way too hard, and it is still not something I can understand. But with the thunder power, the exploding power of the clouds would be much more obvious, which would make it easier to understand. Yichen was very clear that just the natural power alone seemed easy, but it was actually the hardest to learn. If he could add something else into it, it might be able to help him. For example, if he tried to learn the clouds by himself, he would not get any results for 3 days. But right now, with the thunder yuan chi pouring in, that barrier had been shattered, and he had finally learned something. Without closing his eyes, Yichen was in the middle of the lightning and the sea of clouds. He yelled loudly, his voice sounding like thunder as he threw out a sword attack with an endless exploding power. Crack! The power of that sword attack was unimaginable. It had attracted all of the lightning around Yichen's body, and the sea of clouds had gathered together, increasing Yichen's power. The next second, thousands of meters in front of him, the sea of clouds splashed everywhere like water. Lightning and thunder clashed together, bursting out an eye-catching bright light. The combination of the 4th movement had been completed. Chapter 238. With the sky-shattering clouds, which had combined the 4 movements of the Sky Cloud Sword Art and the completed Lone Peak Kill, Yichen's understanding of sword arts had almost reached its limit. He would not be able to make any more progress in a short period of time. But it was already more than enough, since no one knew more about the horrifying power of these 2 top sword movements than him. If the Lone Peak Kill was a one-hit kill, then the sky-shattering clouds would be the kind of powerful attack that could shake the whole world. It was fearless and unbreakable. Shoo! Since he had achieved his goal, Yichen did not have to stay in the sky anymore. He extended his body and turned into a beam of blue light, shooting out of the clouds and returning to the ground. After resting for 1 night on the Snake Island, Yichen left on the 2nd day. As for Wang Snake, who had the intention to join the competition, he had not come out from the forbidden place of the Wang family yet. In fact, even if he came out, he would not be allowed to join the Hidden Dragon rank competition. It was a rule of the Wang family. The competition would be held in an ancient city in the middle of the 3 big countries. It was called the Hidden Dragon Ancient City, which was said to be an ancient city. Under the city, there was a dragon fountain that could leave at any time, which would guarantee the luck of the ancient city. The distance to the hidden dragon ancient city was more than 1,000,000 miles. If he rushed at his full speed, it would only take him 20 days to get there. However, a long journey was not the same as a short one. Even with the pellets that could instantly replenish his Zhenqi, Yi Chen's meridians would not be able to handle such a high speed of Zhenqi circulation. His meridians would definitely break down and he would become a disabled person. Normally, for a distance of more than 100,000 miles, clasping Yuan realm warriors would not rush at their full speed. Most of them would fly at 1/3 or even half of their full speed, and they would have to take some time to rest and recover their meridians, adjusting their body to the best condition. Leaving the Star Regional Lake, Yi Chen passed through the north of the Black Dragon Empire. The weather here was extremely cold. The mountains and lakes were all covered in thick ice and snow. The wind that was blowing on his face was no different from ice blades, hitting on his protective Zhenqi layer and making a cracking sound. "Leader, don't worry. I will be back in a bit." There was a small village in the endless ice mountains. Outside of the village, a teenager who was about 18 years old was waving his hand to say goodbye. The village chief was a white-haired old man. Although his voice wasn't loud and the gale was strong, his aged voice seemed to be able to ignore the laws of space and directly reach the young man's ears. Didn't you say that you were going out for a stroll? Why did you steal so many spirit stones from me last night?" The young man rubbed his head and laughed dryly. "You found out. Actually, I plan to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. I can't do that without spirit stones. Alright, I have a lot of inspiration now. I need to find a place to go into seclusion as soon as possible. Otherwise, all the inspiration will run away." In such a frigid environment, the young man only wore a simple short coat. His figure flashed and disappeared into the gray gale. Hundreds of miles away. The young man laughed proudly. "Silly old man, who's going into seclusion? I, Tuabaku, am going to join the hidden dragon rank competitions and meet the young warriors from the South Rudra region. Then, I will travel around the true spirit continent and meet the young warriors from all over the world. Anyway, I will not be coming back." Roar! There were many demon beasts in the Frost Mountain range. A top-level 6 demon beast, the double-headed ice demon bear, suddenly jumped out of the snow and pounced at the young man. The young man had no intention of dodging, or rather, he was indifferent, allowing the twin-headed demonic ice bear to pounce on him. Dang! The young man did not move an inch, but the twin-headed demonic ice bear looked like it had bumped into a mountain that was made of steel. "Move aside, I have no time to play with you." Grabbing the twin-headed demonic ice bear's paw, the young man casually threw it away. No one knew where he had thrown it. Outside of the village gate, the middle-aged man wearing beast skin clothes said helplessly, "Leader, this brat is definitely going to join the hidden dragon rank competitions. Are you really going to let him go?" The leader rubbed his beard and said with a smile, "Young people should always have some ambition. Even if he does not go out, I will figure out a way to let him go." "Then why didn't you let him go before?" "He is not old enough, and his power is not enough. Plus, he has been a bit arrogant lately. Let him go out and try his luck." The cold wind was extremely cold, cutting through people's faces like knives. It had been 10 days, but Yi Chen had still not made it through the northern part of the Black Dragon Empire. Although there are not many cities in the north, the quality of the warriors is quite high. It seems that the cold place is indeed challenging, especially when one's cultivation is low. Standing on top of an icy mountain, Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back, taking a break. In the distance, a human figure flew over at an extreme speed. He is about the same age as me, and his cultivation is also at the late clasping Yuan realm. He should be a good opponent. I should not be able to beat him with one punch. The young man named Tuabaku did not slow down, instead, he increased his speed. He rushed towards Yu Chen at a speed that was faster than the sound barrier as he yelled, "Take this!" Yu Chen had already noticed him, and thought that he was just passing by. He did not know that he was actually coming for him. Crack! The icy mountain was the first to collapse under the horrifying fist pressure. Avalanches were everywhere, looking horrifying. Yu Chen stepped on a falling rock, staring at the young man in a simple short robe. 100 meters. 50 meters. 10 meters. Right then, Tuobaku realized that Yu Chen was getting further and further away from him. But the next second, he had been punched, and his body could not help but fly backward. Strange, how did he manage to hit me? Tuobaku was shocked. Take another punch. Tuobaku did not believe it, so he stabilized his body and flew towards Yu Chen at an even faster speed. He threw out a punch from a distance, and the air kept on exploding. Yu Chen's eyebrows twitched, such a powerful fist art. His power is even more powerful than Wang Heng's. That physical defense is unimaginable. He had been punched by me, but he did not seem to be affected at all. Boom! Tuobaku was punched again. The clothes on his upper body had been torn apart, revealing his horrifying muscles, which looked like rocks, but also like steel. I see. You are messing with my sense of space. Tuobaku spat out a mouthful of saliva and laughed out loud. He threw out another attack for the third time. He was confident that this time, he would be able to hit Yu Chen and blow him away. Your instinct is very sharp. Unfortunately, it would be useless even if you knew. Yu Chen smiled lightly as he tapped on the falling rock with the tip of his foot, appearing within 10 meters of Tuobaku. His right fist was thrown out at a moderate speed, giving people a feeling that it was very casual. Chin. His iron-like muscles shone with a dark blue light. Tuobaku had been punched in the chest, and his whole body had sunk into the collapsed snow peak, disappearing without a trace. The snow peak had exploded, and Tuobaku had shot out without any injuries. Yu Chen said, "All right, if this is a battle, then the result is already out. If you want to continue, I cannot guarantee that you will survive." Once the words came out, Yu Chen intentionally let out a bit of sword intent. Tuobaku said, "So, you are a sword user. Damn. So, I do not even have the right to force you to use all of your power. So sick." Yu Chen said, "If you had run into other people, you would have had a great chance of winning. But running into me is your misfortune." Indeed. No matter how hard I tried, I could not hit you. Oh right, you must be going to the Hidden Dragon rank competition, right? Me too. How about we go together? It is so boring on the road. Tuobaku could not stand the loneliness the most. He had stayed in a small village for more than 10 years. He really did not know how he had survived. Yu Chen glanced at Tuobaku, "Never mind. If I go with you, I am afraid that I will not be able to make it to the Hidden Dragon ancient city." This guy was too good at finding trouble. It was hard to guarantee that he would not find someone else to fight and waste time. Without giving Tuobaku any chance, Yu Chen extended his body and shot out. Tuobaku scratched his head, feeling a bit speechless. There is a late clasping Yuan realm warrior over there as well, but he is a bit older. Inside a mountain at the edge of the 100,000 mountain range, Murong Qingcheng, who was in purple, was sitting on a cushion with her legs crossed. Her hair was like a waterfall, and her eyes were closed tight. Her beautiful body was like a jade statue, not moving at all. Who? There was a vague black chi flow in the air, and as the black chi flow appeared, the ground would sink a couple of feet. Looking over her head, there was a straight tunnel going down. It was not hard to guess that Murong Qingcheng's original training spot was on top of the mountain. As time went on, it had sunk down bit by bit, eventually reaching the bottom of the mountain. After an unknown period of time, a shadow of a black petal appeared on top of Murong Qingcheng's head. The shadow was getting clearer and clearer until it was almost real. When it was only one step away from the real thing, the shadow shattered and completely merged into Murong Qingqing's body. Her Zhenqi flowed faster, and an extremely mysterious Zhenqi route map appeared in her body. It looked like a pattern, but also like a pattern. The lines had been dyed by the Zhenqi into a crystal black color, resonating with the Zhenqi spiral in her lower abdomen. Right at the moment when the Zhenqi route map was formed, the mountain was crushed by a terrifying invisible force, and was completely flattened. Standing in the middle of a pile of rocks, there was not a single thing within 10 meters around Murong Qingqing. Those huge rocks were easily crushed before they could even get close to her. I've reached the 10th level of the Great Sky Devil magic. The Sky Devil flower is indeed worthy of its reputation. Slowly letting out a breath, Murong Qingqing looked around, and didn't feel surprised at all. In the martial city, she had bid farewell to Yi Chen, then went back to the Sky Devil martial school to make some preparations. After that, she immediately left for the 100,000 mountain range to look for the Sky Devil flower. The Sky Devil flower was extremely rare in the world. Normally, it would be guarded by a Sky Devil serpent. Fortunately, as Qi Xiaofeng had said, the Sky Devil serpent had once fought against a powerful being, and had also suffered from the thunder calamity, and was either severely injured or dead. After spending over 2 months, Murong Qingqing finally found the Sky Devil flower in a cold lake. The Sky Devil flower was extremely powerful, and it was obviously impossible to swallow it all at once. Therefore, Murong Qingqing only took one petal and swallowed it. After a couple of months of closed-door training, her top-rank Earth Realm martial art, the Great Sky Devil art, had directly improved from the 8th level to the 10th level. If she swallowed the whole Sky Devil flower, it would be very possible for her to reach the 14th level. As for the 15th level, it should not be that easy. But of course, what Murong Qingqing wanted was not the Sky Devil flower's medicinal effect, but the mysterious power contained in it. This mysterious power was closely related to the Great Sky Devil art, and only with this power could she break through to the next level of her martial art. Furthermore, the Sky Devil flower had helped her to reach the late clasping Yuan realm from the peak of the mid-clasping Yuan realm. Her power had not only increased by 1 or 2%, but had almost doubled. Now that I think about it, the Hidden Dragon rank competition will start in a month. I won't be able to make it in time if I travel by myself. I have to go to the Sky Devil Martial School and choose a top-rank level 6 flying demonic beast. Her body flashed, and her purple robe fluttered in the air. Like a bubble, Murong Qingqing's body disappeared. Chapter 239. The time of the Hidden Dragon rank competition was getting closer and closer, and the South Rudra region was getting more and more chaotic. Besides the hundreds of different martial institutions, tens of thousands of lone warriors had rushed to the Hidden Dragon ancient city. The lowest cultivation among them was at the Clasping Yuan realm, and none of them were below the Clasping Yuan realm. As for the reason, it was very simple. Only the ranked martial institutions could bring some of their disciples who were below the Clasping Yuan realm to watch the competition. As for the outsiders, they would have to be at least at the Clasping Yuan realm. Plus, there was a limit on the number of people who could go beyond the Hidden Dragon ancient city's capacity. Unless one was an astral reaching realm warrior, he or she would not be able to enter. Under this rule, the lone warriors who were at the Clasping Yuan realm would have to leave a few months before the competition. If they could not watch the competition, they would regret it for 3 years. Plus, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition was the most popular one, which would only happen once in 1,000 years. They would regret it for 10 lifetimes. When the whole South Rudra region was heated up, some of the powerful martial institutions were also making their own preparations. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition would be the most popular one in the past 1,000 years. There would be countless martial geniuses. Plus, under the Hidden Dragon ancient city was the Earth Chi Dragon Fountain. It could be said that the ranking would directly affect the luck of the individual and the martial institution. This was not just a bluff, it was actually real. All of the young warriors who had shown their talents in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions had basically achieved something. The higher the ranking, the more achievements they would have. The competition was not only about the ranking, but also about the luck. Sky Flying Devil Martial School, an extremely tall mountain pierced through the clouds, disappearing into the thick layers of clouds. On top of the mountain, there was a majestic pitch-black palace. Outside of the palace, there were two black statues with wings on their backs and a third eye in between their eyebrows, guarding on both sides. Normal people would not dare to look at them directly. Inside the palace, the leader of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School had his back facing the palace door, looking high up in the air. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is not going to be easy. Mo Yen, as the head disciple of our Sky Flying Devil Martial School, you only managed to get the 8th place in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition. I am very disappointed. In the middle of the palace, two young men and women stood side by side. The teenager in black on the left bowed and said with respect, "Leader, Mo Yen has disappointed you. This time, I will definitely get into the top 3 and fight for more luck for the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. That's for the best. Let's not talk about you for now. Qingcheng, you were only ranked 27th in the previous batch. Are you still planning to hold back this time around?" The purple-clothed woman beside the black-clothed young man said, "Sect Master, in the previous tournament, my great sky demon art had just reached the 7th level, so I didn't have much confidence in making it into the top 10. That's why I didn't give it my all and planned to save it for this tournament." The woman in purple was Murong Qingcheng. "Your sky demon great art has reached the 10th level in such a short time, surpassing Mo Yen. It seems like you have had some other adventures out there. Alright, this year's top 10 Hidden Dragon rank, our Sky Demon Martial School will definitely take 2 places and become the number 1 rank 6 martial institution in the whole South Rudra region." This was a scorching volcanic zone. In the center of the volcanic zone, there were many red palaces surrounding it. And in the largest volcano, as far as the eye could see, it was all golden magma. On the magma, there was a large piece of land that had a radius of several dozen li, and on it sat a pure gold palace. There were only 2 people standing in the hall. "Qi Hua, you were the number 2 in the last Hidden Dragon rank. What do you think this time?" A middle-aged man wearing a pure gold long robe sat on a huge chair. The chair was neither made of wood nor metal, but something similar to rocks. It was extremely hard, and it looked very powerful. The young man said, "I, the Fire Spirit Prince, will not lose again." "Very good. The number 1 of the Hidden Dragon rank is the most powerful one, and you will get the most luck. If you can get the number 1, then you will definitely be worthy of the title of Fire Spirit Prince." The middle-aged man laughed. The whole palace seemed to be shaking, and the magma outside was boiling. "Dao Xian, your Heartless spell has reached the 10th level, and your Heartless sword intent has reached 60% as well. You are indeed a rare martial genius of our Heartless Martial School." On top of the cliff, the middle-aged man in blue stood with his hands behind his back. His clothes were fluttering in the wind, as if he was about to leave. The young man with a cold expression said, "Leader, you are flattering me. However, the real heartless does not mean that you are heartless. Instead, it means that you see everything as nothing. As long as you are heartless, there is no need for you to care about the surface. This is the heartless Tao. If you can understand this, no one in the Hidden Dragon rank will be able to compete with you. Heartless does not mean that you are heartless. Seeing everything as nothing." The young man seemed to be thinking. "Hee, this might be a bit difficult for you. Even I have not figured it out yet. I just want you to walk in this direction. You do not need to be restricted by the word heartless." "Yes, leader." Although the young man did not understand the meaning behind it, he had already memorized it. In the Grey Mystery Nation, which was right next to the Black Dragon Empire. The Grey Mystery Nation had the largest land area among the 3 nations, but only 1/10 of it was actually populated. The rest of the land was made up of 10,000 mountains. In the west of the Grey Mystery Nation, the sky was filled with colorful clouds. Visible to the naked eye, an extremely thick beam of light shot down from the sky and landed on the vast martial institution. This martial institution was one of the two rank 6 martial institutions in the Grey Mystery Nation, the Sunset Martial School. Your head disciple was ranked number 6 in the last Hidden Dragon rank, but he is already over 24 years old, so he cannot join anymore. So, I will leave the top 10 competition to you, Qian Yun. The leader of the Sunset Martial School looked worried. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition would be the most prosperous one in the past 1,000 years, and the luck would be immeasurable. However, the head disciple was already over 24 years old, so he could not join anymore. Although the second disciple had improved extremely fast and was already extremely powerful at the age of 19, he was still not powerful enough to compete with the top young warriors in the last Hidden Dragon rank. The young man who looked very handsome said, "Leader, I can do whatever the head disciple can do. You don't have to worry. I don't expect you to get into the top 5, but you have to get into the top 10. Everything will fall when it reaches its peak, and the Hidden Dragon rank competition is the same. The luck in the next Hidden Dragon rank competition will not be as good as this one." Qian Yun knows. The Floating Mountain, it was both the name of the magical mountain and the name of a rank 6 martial institution. In the history of this martial institution, there had been 2 life and death realm warriors, which had once brought the Floating Mountain Martial School up to the rank 5 martial institution. However, there was always a downfall when there were no new life and death realm warriors. Therefore, the Floating Mountain Martial School had dropped from rank 5 to rank 6. However, no one dared to underestimate the power of the Floating Mountain Martial School, not even the royal families of the 3 great nations. In the middle of the endless mountain range, 1,000 meters tall mountain was floating in the air, 3,300 meters above the ground. According to the rumors, this mountain was brought back from some ancient land by the second life and death realm warrior of the Floating Mountain Martial School. It contained the magnetic godly iron, which could repel the gravity of the earth. That was why it could float in the air all year round. There was only one palace on the mountain, which was the main palace of the Floating Mountain Martial School. On the plaza outside the main palace, a muscular middle-aged man and a young man stood side by side, looking down at the vast land below the mountain. "Unfortunately, my potential has been used up, and I cannot reach the life and death realm. But you are different. Your talent and comprehensive ability are even more powerful than mine. You are the most talented one among all of the Tsang King's descendants. You will have the chance to take the most difficult step and become the new king of the Floating Mountain Martial School. Right now, it is time to test you. As a descendant of a king, you have to do what only a king can do. Continue to take the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank, and bring endless luck to our Floating Mountain Martial School." The young man emitted an aura as if he was looking down on the whole world. His eyes were like a god's as he said lightly, "The South Rudra region is only my starting point. The true spirit continent is my stage. Big Grandpa, don't worry. The first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is already under my control. Without any accidents, when I reach the top again, it will be the beginning of me leaving the South Rudra region and heading to the true spirit continent." The middle-aged man laughed. In his mind, Sheng Er was indeed talented and had the demeanor of a king. What he lacked was an equally powerful opponent. Only an equally powerful opponent would be able to stimulate his potential and reach the level of Xianhou. After all, if a lion stayed in a group of sheep for too long, its claws and teeth would slowly become blunt. But, if a lion stayed in a group of lions, it would only become more powerful, unless it lost its pride as a lion. The Ice Crystal Empire, an empire of ice and snow. In this huge empire, there were also 2 rank 6 martial institutions, the Sky Falling Martial School and the Ice Extreme Martial School. The main palace of the Sky Falling Martial School was built on a meteor that was dozens of miles wide. It was dark with a hint of red, and its whole body was shining with a metallic luster. There was not a single bit of rock on the outside. Inside the sky-falling palace, the leader and the few core masters were all smiling. God wants our sky-falling martial school. Yun-er has trained his sky-falling great art to its 11th level at the most critical moment. Indeed. The sky-falling great art is a top-rank Earth realm martial art. The power of its 11th level would be absolutely horrifying. This time, not to mention the top 3, he could even fight for the first place and beat Xikongsheng from the Floating Mountain Martial School. Xikongsheng has inherited the bloodline of the Tsang King, which means that he has a huge potential. However, in front of absolute power, even the king's bloodline would have to be defeated. Ha, this is great. The teenager with the unrestrained temperament laughed. Leader, masters, you have to keep this a secret. I want to take the first place unexpectedly in the Hidden Dragon rank competition, and show the power of our sky-falling martial school. Of course. All of us here are core masters of our sky-falling martial school. We will definitely keep this a secret for you. You should not let your guard down. Take this opportunity to get familiar with the 11th level of the sky-falling great art, and try to use its power to its limit. Also, if you can get the first place this time, the position of the leader of the sky-falling martial school will be yours for sure. The leader of the sky-falling martial school said. Alright, the first place of the Hidden Dragon rank is mine for sure. The teenager was full of spirit and ambition. The Ice Extreme Martial School was located in the middle of thousands of miles of ice mountains. There were white mountains, white water, and white sky everywhere. Inside the magnificent ice mountains, there was a palace that was built completely out of ice. Bing Ling, although our Ice Extreme Martial School does not like to fight, but the competition of the Hidden Dragon rank is not only about the ranking. It is also a place to fight for luck. No matter if it is personal luck or the luck of our martial school, we have to fight for it. This time, I want you to get into the top 3 of the Hidden Dragon rank. The middle-aged lady said coldly. In the middle of the palace, the cold-looking lady in white nodded and said, Leader, don't worry. I, Bing Ling, will either not fight for it, or I will fight for the first place, and win the endless luck for our martial school. Good. Then, I will not worry anymore. Chapter 240. Half a month later, Yi Qin had finally made it through the northern part of the Black Dragon Empire and arrived at the land between the 3 countries. This land was vast, and the mountains were ancient and steep. In the beginning, Yi Qin did not notice anything different. But as he got deeper, he realized that there was an ancient qi being emitted from this land. It seemed to be able to reverse the yin and yang, messing up the fate of the world. The Hidden Dragon ancient place has existed since the ancient times. It is said that it has suppressed 72 dragon veins, and among them, the Earth Qi dragon vein under the Hidden Dragon ancient city is the most powerful one. It controls the flow of the Earth Qi in the whole South Rudra region. Now that I see it, it is indeed extraordinary. It is no weaker than all the ancient inheritance places in the whole South Rudra region. In some aspects, it might even be more powerful. But why do those inheritance places no longer exist in the world? Why does the Hidden Dragon ancient place still exist? Yi Qin was shocked by this vast land. His soul power spread out, and he felt like he could hear the roars of dragons. It was as if his soul was about to be shattered. Entering the Hidden Dragon ancient place, there were more and more warriors passing by. A lot of them were flying while discussing in a low voice, sounding very respectful. The Hidden Dragon ancient place is not something that any country in the whole South Rudra region can take over. In the history, there was a super country that wanted to build a capital in the Hidden Dragon ancient place, gathering all of the luck in the whole South Rudra region. But in only 72 days, the capital was destroyed, and all of the royal family members had died. Since then, no one has tried to take over the Hidden Dragon ancient place. Even the life and death realm warriors are afraid of this place. The Hidden Dragon ancient place is a place of luck, but it is also a place of death. According to the ancient records, a lot of life and death realm warriors have been killed there, including an unbeatable king warrior who had been titled emperor level. It had even killed a lot of foreign race king warriors who wanted to get their hands on the hidden dragon ancient place. 20 years ago, it was not like the leader of the Nine Ghost cult did not have any ideas about the hidden dragon ancient place. But, as you all know, the whole Nine Ghost cult was completely destroyed. Even the leader of the Nine Ghost cult was being chased by Xianhou and the Dragon King. 20 years ago, Xianhou was still very young, and did not have much power. Although the Dragon King was an experienced king warrior, he would not have much chance of winning in a one-on-one battle. Normally, even if the two of them combined forces, they would not be able to kill the leader of the Nine Ghost cult, since the battles between life and death realm warriors were not normal, and there would not be any deaths. Even if the leader of the Nine Ghost cult could not win against the two of them, he should still be able to leave safely. I guess he might have been badly wounded in the hidden dragon ancient place, and his power had dropped. These things are hard to explain, and no one knows the details. What is the point of us making wild guesses? No matter how mysterious the hidden dragon ancient place is, it has nothing to do with us. Only the young generation will be able to get the luck from there. We just need to watch. You are right. On the Rising Dragon platform, the luck will be on you. I wonder who else would be able to get the luck from the Earth Chi Dragon Fountain in the whole South Rudra region. Those old guys should be here already. Let's hurry. They were all astral reaching realm warriors, so they were extremely fast. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, they had already left the other warriors far behind. Hearing them, Yichen gasped. The hidden dragon ancient place had killed a lot of life and death realm warriors, including an unbeatable king warrior who had been titled emperor level. It had killed all the royal members of a super nation. No one knew if the leader of the Nine Ghost cult was still alive, and the Nine Ghost cult had been destroyed. No matter which one it was, they were all so shocking. This vast land with an ancient chi was no longer normal in Yichen's eyes. It was a place where light and darkness interweaved. It was both a place of luck and a place of death. The 72 Dragon Fountain matches the top 72 of the Hidden Dragon rank, fighting for the luck. It seems like the competitions for the Hidden Dragon rank are not just for show. There must be something else that I should not underestimate. A thought flashed through his mind as Yichen increased his speed, flying towards the Hidden Dragon Ancient City. The Hidden Dragon Ancient Place was way bigger than any of the three great nations. There were a lot of mountains that were connected together, with no beginning or end. However, in the center of the Hidden Dragon Ancient Place, there was a special place. It seemed to be the beginning and the end of the mountains. The long mountains from all directions were like dragons that surrounded this place, sinking into the ground and gathering in the center. In this huge area, an extremely majestic ancient city was sitting on top of it, suppressing the thousands of mountains. It looked extremely ordinary, but it seemed to be extremely noble. This ancient city was indeed the place where the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank would be held, the Hidden Dragon Ancient City. The history of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City could not be studied anymore. All one knew was that it had existed for a very long time, since the ancient era. It had been standing for countless years. In this place, even the life and death realm warriors would have to be respectful, not daring to do anything that would affect the luck. On the vast plain outside the south gate of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City, millions of warriors had gathered. It was a sea of people, covering the whole mountain. The martial institutions that had arrived early had already built some simple buildings on the plain for their disciples to live in. As for the lone warriors, they did not care so much, they just sat on the ground with their legs crossed and started to cook food over the bonfires. They would call their friends from time to time, making all kinds of noises. The people from the Sky Cloud Martial School had arrived not too early, but not too late either. A couple of inner masters had built 7 to 8 wooden houses on a small hill 10 miles away from the south gate. Outside the wooden houses, Lu Hanshan looked into the distance. He could not help but yell, "So many people, and all of them are clasping Yuan Realm warriors. Millions of clasping Yuan Realm warriors, it is indeed unimaginable. Even the clouds in the sky have been pushed away. Zhu Mei stood on the side, looking up at the sky. Millions of Jinqi vibrations had combined together. Although they were all contained and did not release it on purpose, those vibrations were still extremely horrifying. If a life and death realm warrior did not use any special skills, facing so many clasping Yuan realm warriors, he would still be killed. But of course, life and death realm warriors were not stupid, they could leave whenever they wanted, and no one would be able to stop them. Su Jing's expression was as cold as always, she did not say anything. Luo Xinglia walked out of the wooden house and said, "The Hidden Dragon rank competition is related to the fortune of our Sky Cloud Martial School. Entering the city is a fortune, don't disappoint me." "Yes, leader." The three nodded seriously. In the next couple of days, a large number of martial institutions had been arriving every day. Because of the overwhelming number of people, the area around the south gate was almost packed. These martial institutions had no choice but to get rid of some lone warriors and occupy a large area to build houses for their disciples to live in. "Look, it is Wei Renjie, who was ranked 37th in the last Hidden Dragon rank. His blade art is very powerful, I heard that his blade intent has already reached the entry level. Qi Xiaofeng, who was ranked 38th in the Hidden Dragon rank, is also here. There is also Leng Wuqing, the child demon, who was ranked 45th. He had beaten a couple of clasping Yuan realm warriors when he was only at the peak level late condensing reality realm. Now that he has reached the early clasping Yuan realm, I wonder how powerful he has become. I think even the young warriors at the mid-clasping Yuan realm would not dare to say that they could win against him." Hearing the people's discussions, Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei suddenly became nervous. Before they came here, they thought that with their current cultivation, they could at least compete with them, even if they could not get into the top 72. But now, they realized that these people had made even more progress than they had. That Wei Renjie was the most powerful one among all the young warriors they had ever met. His blade intent had actually reached the entry level. Not to mention fighting against him face to face, it would already be amazing if they could not break down when facing his blade intent. Qi Xiaofeng and Leng Wuqing were both powerful warriors. One was extremely talented, while the other was a regular warrior who had challenged people with higher cultivation than him. Glancing at Su Jing, who didn't show any reaction, Luo Hanshan sighed in his head and thought, "There is always someone better than you out there. Yi Chen, I wonder what level you have reached now." Shaking his head, Luo Hanshan gave a bitter smile. Yi Chen's talent and comprehensive ability were undeniable, but he had started a bit too late after all. Otherwise, he might have been able to reach the top of the Hidden Dragon rank, even into the top 40 or even the top 30. He was not underestimating Yi Chen, it was just that the young warriors who had made it to the last Hidden Dragon rank had improved way too fast, way too fast. After all, they were not the only ones who had been improving. Roar! 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 Roars of demonic beasts could be heard from afar. The people from the 6th grade Sunset School are here. And the Sky Meteor sect, the Heartless sect, and the Sky Demon sect. The Fire Spirit Martial School, the Ice Extreme Martial School and the Floating Mountain Martial School are right behind them. All the noises on the plain had disappeared completely, it was dead silent. Rank 6 martial institutions were different from those below rank 7. Normally, there would be a huge gap between rank 7 and rank 6, just like the gap between the clasping Yuan realm and the astral reaching realm. It would be a huge gap, and only a powerful warrior could be in charge of it. Each of the 7 rank 6 martial institutions had a very rich history, which had been accumulated for thousands of years. Among them, the Floating Mountain Martial School was the most powerful one, with a history even longer than the 3 great nations. 2 king warriors had been born in the martial institution, one was the Stone King, and the other was the Tsang King. The area closest to the south gate was a huge open area, which was reserved for the 7 rank 6 martial institutions. No one dared to go up and fight for it, and no one chose to get close to it either. All kinds of powerful demonic beasts landed on the ground. The people from the 7 rank 6 martial institutions all jumped down from the backs of the beasts and chose their own spots. The elders of the martial institutions gathered together and discussed in a low voice, while the young warriors stood in the front, which was very eye-catching. The head disciple of the Skyfall Martial School, Lin Yun, glanced at the few of them and sneered. This year's hidden dragon rank would definitely belong to him. Li Daoxian from the Heartless Martial School did not look around, as his sight landed on the south gate of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City. The 2 head disciples of the Sky Demon Martial School, Mo Yen and Murong Qingcheng, exchanged a look. They could see the seriousness in each other's eyes. After 3 years, all of their old rivals' power had reached a very high level. Especially Lin Yun from the Skyfall Martial School, they felt a huge threat. A red halo appeared in Mo Yan's eyes as he stared at Lin Yun. He opened his mouth slowly. The qi on your body is 5 times more powerful than 3 years ago. 5 times. Murong Qingcheng did not say anything. Her head disciple had trained the Sky Demon art, and he had mastered the Sky Demon eyes, which allowed him to observe the power of his opponent's qi. It would not be a lie. The head disciple of the Fire Spirit Martial School, the Fire Spirit Prince, had also noticed the difference in Lin Yun. He sneered, "No matter how powerful you are, you will still become my stepping stone." Not far away, the head disciple of the Ice Extreme Martial School was like a block of ice, without any emotion. His white robe was fluttering in the wind, releasing a creepy white qi. Everyone had their own qi, fighting against each other. No one was weaker than the other. If it was someone with a powerful soul power, they might even see some sparks flashing in the air. It was a sign that their qi was fighting against each other. However, this kind of situation was soon broken. A young man with godlike eyes was walking with his hands behind his back. Wherever he went, the Yuan qi would follow behind him. He was like a natural king, with his qi looking down on the whole world. His qi was even more powerful than Lin Yun's. Xikong Sheng. On the plain, someone yelled with a low voice. Chapter 241. Xikong Sheng, almost everyone in the South Rudra region had heard of him. He was the head disciple of the Rank 6 Martial Institution, the Floating Mountain Martial School, the descendant of the Tsang Emperor, the champion of the last Hidden Dragon rank. He had reached the peak level late clasping Yuan realm before the age of 20. Any one of his achievements was more than enough to make him stand out from the crowd. Perhaps, he was a little bit weaker than Xianhou, but in the whole true spirit continent, martial geniuses like Xianhou would only appear once in 1,000 years. She would be one of the top martial geniuses in any era. Plus, Xikong Sheng had the bloodline of a king warrior, which gave him a huge potential. It was an advantage that most of the martial geniuses did not have. Once Xikong Sheng got on the stage, he immediately looked like a king warrior of the young generation. Of course, it did not mean that he had already won against everyone else. After all, the king warrior bloodline gave him a natural advantage in terms of aura, and battling was not just about aura. These people are so powerful. They are even a few times more powerful than father. How could a clasping Yuan realm warrior reach such a horrifying level? Are they really clasping Yuan realm warriors? Luo Hanshan's pupils shrunk. In his memory, his father, Luo Xinglia, was also a martial genius in his generation. He was way more powerful than normal peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Together with the leaders of the other 4 martial institutions, they were known as the top 5 clasping Yuan realm martial artists in the Windy Nation. However, compared to Xikong Sheng and the others, he was not even as powerful as the top 30 young martial artists in the last Hidden Dragon rank. In other words, if Luo Xinglia and the others were allowed to compete on the stage, they would only be guaranteed to be in the top 72. Luo Xinglia's mouth twitched. He thought to himself, what is a genius? This is a real genius. It was so breathtaking that it made people speechless. Compared to it, we were just small loaches. Haha, uncle, thank you for bringing me to the hidden dragon ancient city. Two figures suddenly appeared in the sky. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was a young man with a wild aura and a sturdy body. At this moment, the young man was being carried by the middle-aged man and was flying towards them at high speed. Whoosh! The wild young man got rid of the middle-aged man's hand and landed right next to Sikong Sheng and the rest. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Little Tuoba, you're lucky this time. Next time you get lost, walk back by yourself." Many people could tell that the middle-aged man was an astral reaching expert, and not an ordinary one at that. His cultivation base had obviously reached late astral reaching realm, and he was definitely a top existence among the astral reaching realm. The wild young man was indeed Tuabaku. After he had separated from Yi Chen, he had been on his way while looking for people to fight with. After a couple of days, he had completely lost his way. As for this middle-aged man, he did not know him at all. Back then, he had been fishing, and did not have the aura of an astral reaching realm warrior. Tuabaku's eyesight was not bad, so he could tell that the middle-aged man was very powerful. Therefore, he wanted to fight with him, but ended up being beaten badly. His whole body was covered in bruises. Luckily, the middle-aged man was only playing with him. Otherwise, he would have been dead by now. Tuabaku casually stood right next to Sikong Sheng and the rest, which instantly attracted the attention of the crowd. Especially those young warriors who were ranked below the top 10, they were glaring at him angrily, using their chi to oppress him. Even they did not stand there, so how could this guy dare to stand in front of them? All of the young warriors' chi was extremely powerful. They all rushed toward Tuabaku like an avalanche, wanting to make him suffer a bit and remember his lesson. So stingy. Isn't it just taking up a spot? Tuabaku laughed out loud. An aura that was completely different from when he met Yi Chen was released from his body. It was like a mountain flood, like a tornado, like a volcano, exploding ferociously. There was even that domineering aura of a king, which was competing with the aura of Sikong Sheng and the rest. The young warriors opened their eyes wide, not daring to believe it. What? Another top young warrior. There is a unique king aura on him. Perhaps he also has a king bloodline. How is this possible? I have never seen him before. Where did he come from? The middle-aged man who had brought Tuabaku over laughed to himself, this Tuaba brat is not simple. His physical defense is shocking. No, it is horrifying. As for whether he has a king bloodline or not, it is hard to tell. He might be the direct descendant of some hidden family. The second disciple of the Sunset Martial School, Qian Yun, frowned. His head disciple was already 24 years old, so he had lost the right to join the competition. The responsibility of fighting for the top 10 had fallen onto his shoulders. He was confident that he would be able to accomplish his goal, and he could even make it to the top. But who would have thought that a powerful opponent would appear along the way, whose chi was no weaker than the rest of the warriors, only slightly weaker than Sikong Sheng. Glancing at the 9th and 10th warriors from the last hidden sky martial school, Qian Yun saw that they were still hesitating, not daring to take a step forward. His heart sank, and he tried his best to suppress his urge, not wanting to be the first one to step forward. He knew that as long as he took a step forward, he would be pressured by the aura of the other young warriors, and he did not have much confidence in dealing with it. Plus, the competition had not even started yet, so there was no need to make everyone angry. Let them be arrogant for a while. Besides 2 or 3 of them, I am not afraid of the rest. Qian Yun tightened his fists. Today was the opening day of the Hidden Dragon Ancient City, and everyone who was supposed to be here had already arrived. However, in a few people's minds, there was still one missing. Why is he not here yet? Although I did not attack him seriously, I might not be able to win against him. Tuabaku thought of Yi Chen. Murong Qingcheng had the same suspicion as well, but she did not care too much about it. She thought that Tuabaku had been delayed by something. Over at the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yu Chen is not here. Not good. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions are extremely rare. If we miss it this time, there will not be a next time. Luo Xinglia looked worried. The headmaster frowned. Yu Chen would not break his promise. He said he would definitely come. Right at that moment, a rumbling sound shook the whole area. The south gate of the Hidden Dragon ancient city had been opened. It was like the gate to the heaven had been opened, which was quite shocking. In front of the south gate, the ground cracked open and moved towards the two sides. Then, 3 massive platforms that were miles in size appeared slowly, connected by a chain bridge. The first platform and the chain bridge were connected by 2 rock pillars. The pillars were hollowed out, shining with a blue light. The blue light interweaved with each other and formed a blue light wall, blocking the way into the bridge. On the second platform, there was a strange square palace. It looked like it was made out of crystals, shining with a colorful light. Through the crystal walls, one could see a lot of jade tags hanging in the air. There was nothing on the third platform, which was nothing special. However, between the third platform and the south gate, there was a not-so-big abyss. There were paintings carved on the walls of the abyss. There were flowers, birds, fishes, and insects on the bottom, and real dragons on the top. Besides that, the platform was not at the same height as the south gate, which was about 72 meters higher. In other words, if one wanted to enter the south gate, they would have to jump up from the third platform. There was no other way. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate have appeared. I wonder how many people would be able to make it through. Probably not more than 40%. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate will automatically adjust the difficulty. It would not be easy to make it through all 3 challenges in a row. As the crowd chatted, all of the young warriors from the South Rudra region who had reached the standards started to move. Their first goal was to make it through the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate and enter the South Gate. Otherwise, they would not be able to do anything. Shoo! 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 Xikong Sheng and the rest landed on the first platform first, followed by the rest of them. There were more than 2,000 people, which was a horrifying number. Pooh! A huge hole appeared on the blue light wall, and Xikong Sheng made it through. Then, the Fire Spirit Prince, Lin Yun and the rest all made it through as well. They flew towards the second platform along the chain bridge. Leader, we will go first. Since they could not wait for Yu Chen, Luo Hanshan and the other 2 would have to go through the 3 challenges. Luo Hanshan nodded, looking into the distance. The first challenge was called the Wall-Breaking Challenge. That 100-meter-wide blue light wall had the defensive power of a peak-level early-class Bing Yuan realm warrior. Only by making a passable hole on the light wall would one be able to get to the second platform and start the second challenge. Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei barely made it through. As for Su Jing, she had casually torn open a huge tunnel on the blue light wall. She looked very relaxed. Su Jing is very powerful. Luo Xinglia felt a bit comforted. The 4th master said, Su Jing has always made people feel safe. But where did that brat Yichen go? This is so annoying. Shoo! In the distance, a beam of light flew over at an extreme speed. The headmaster unconsciously lifted up his head, his lips trembling. Leader, Yu Chen is here. He is really here. He is here. Luo Xinglia and all of the inner masters of the Sky Cloud Martial School looked over. Pushing his separating shadow flying art to its limit, Yu Chen flashed across the air for over 400 meters, leaving an unimaginable trail in the air. Leader, elders, Yu Chen is late. Landing on the ground, Yu Chen looked a bit apologetic. In the last 2 days, he had increased his speed again and again, but he was still 1 step behind. He wanted to try to get there earlier, but the hidden dragon ancient place was way bigger than he had expected. It took him one more day to get there. It's good that you are here. Go now. You have already wasted a lot of time. Because of the anxiety, Luo Xinglie and the others did not notice that Yi Chen had reached the late clasping Yuan realm. Yi Chen had also noticed that the 3 challenges had started. He dared not to waste any time. He extended his body and flew towards the first platform. I was wondering what was wrong. Yi Chen has reached the late clasping Yuan realm. Once Yi Chen had left, the 4th master felt relieved. He had discovered a shocking fact. Luo Xinglie and the headmaster looked at each other. They were extremely shocked. Yi Chen was only at the early clasping Yuan realm when he left, but he had reached the late clasping Yuan realm when he came back. Ha! Our anticipation was not in vain. With this kind of power, what do we have to worry about? Yeah. With him and Su Jing, our Sky Cloud Martial School will definitely have a great fortune. Don't rush. The speed of passing the 3 challenges will show part of one's power. I would like to see what kind of surprise this brat has in store for us. Although the wall-breaking challenge was the first challenge, it had still stopped over 200 young warriors. They all had bitter looks on their faces as they tried their best to break the blue light wall, hoping to break a hole and get to the second platform. After entering the first platform, Yi Chen did not slow down at all. He rushed straight towards the blue light wall, as if it was nothing. This made some of the young warriors sneer. They wanted to see how Yi Chen would make a fool of himself. What made their blood run cold was that Yi Chen seemed to be able to walk through walls. He went straight through the blue light wall, and did not even try to attack. What the hell? Is his body not a real body? He went straight through. Are my eyes okay? Everyone from the Sky Cloud Martial School was shocked as well. Of course, they were not the only ones who were shocked. A lot of people who were watching also did not notice anything different about Yi Chen before. After all, there were quite a lot of late clasping Yuan realm warriors among the young generation. One more would not make a difference. The only thing that mattered was power. Chapter 242. Leader, with Yi Chen here, we will definitely have a share of the fortune of the hidden dragon ancient place, and it will be quite a big one. The headmaster was very happy. The 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate were the preliminary tests to test the contestants' power. Judging from how Yi Chen had passed the first challenge, his power had already reached an immeasurable level. Luo Xinglie laughed out loud. Luckily, we agreed to let him go out to train. Otherwise, how could he have reached this level if he had been training in the school? Training and training both had their own benefits. The advantage of training was that it was stable, and there would not be too many risks and disturbances. The power would increase steadily, which was suitable for most people. However, training was different. There were a lot of uncertainties in training. For example, after seeing the outside world, the warrior's heart might be shaken, or he might be chased and killed without time to train. The scariest thing would be being tricked by others and walking on a path of no return. No matter which one it was, it could kill a real genius and make him disappear into the crowd. Of course, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. If one could stay true to himself during the training, set his own principles, and stay true to his own path, and survive in the blood and fire, his mentality and fighting power would both be improved drastically, which would build a solid foundation for his future. Although he knew about the benefits of training, Luo Xinglie was still very surprised by Yi Chen's achievement. He had only been out for about a year. A year was not a long time in the eyes of warriors. Su Jing has passed the second challenge. Hans Han and Zhu Mei might not be able to make it. Right then, the fourth master moved his eyes away from Yi Chen and looked at Luo Hans Han and the other two. Luo Xinglie forced a smile. The elimination rate of the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate is very shocking. 3 years ago, 70% of the contestants had been eliminated. I wonder how many people will be eliminated this time. I hope Han and Zhu Mei can make it and try their best to jump onto the South City Gate. Because it was way too hard to get into the top 72 of the Hidden Dragon rank, a lot of martial institutions knew that their disciples had no hope. Therefore, being able to jump onto the South City Gate, which was also the Dragon Gate, would make them very happy. After all, those who could jump onto the Dragon Gate were already considered as elite geniuses among the contestants. In order to fight against these lights, there were only 3 ways. The first way was to dodge the lights with extreme speed, but this method was almost a dead end. The attacking speed of the lights was extremely fast, and only the top geniuses were able to dodge the lights with their speed. No matter what method they used, they would be able to pass through, and the others would not be able to do it. The second way was to use their own defense to fight against the lights, which required the contestant to have trained a very powerful martial art, and to have a very high realm. If the rank of the martial art was too low, then it would be impossible for the contestant to pass through. The third way was to use a very powerful attacking power to blow away the lights, which required the contestant to have trained an extremely powerful martial art, and also to have a very good eyesight, being able to see in all directions. If they were even slightly careless, then they might be hit by the lights. The second way was to use their own defense to fight against the lights, which required the contestant to have trained an extremely powerful martial art, and also to have a very good eyesight, being able to see in all directions. If they were even slightly careless, then they might be hit by the lights. Except for the first method, the second and the third method were used by most of the contestants, including Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei. Luo Hanshan did not waste the past year. After he came back from the Heaven Dream Ancient region, he had started training the mid-rank Earth Realm Great Rudra God Art. Under normal circumstances, it would already be quite good if he could reach the 6th level within a year. However, Luo Xinglia had trained the Great Rudra God Art to the 10th level after all, and he had recorded the experiences of every breakthrough. Added with his careful guidance, Luo Hanshan had broken into the 8th level before the Hidden Dragon rank started. The quality and quantity of his Jin Qi was way better than the 9th level of the Purple Qi spell. As for Zhu Mei, she had been cultivating a mid-rank Earth Realm martial art, and with the help of an inner elder who had been cultivating this martial art, she had managed to break into the 9th level of this martial art. She was obviously more talented than Luo Hanshan, and was only second to Yi Chen. The two of them had fully activated their protective Jin Qi to defend themselves against the attacks of those colorful lights. However, it was still not enough. Those colorful lights were very dense, and obviously, their protective Jin Qi would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, they needed to use attacks to break those colorful lights and relieve some pressure on their protective Jin Qi. Finally, the two of them reached out their hands and took down a jade tag that was hanging in the air, then flew towards the back of the palace with extreme difficulty. Once the two of them had left, Yi Chen walked in. Not too dense, but there are a lot of loopholes. With only a single glance, Yi Chen had seen through those colorful lights. He didn't slow down at all, instead, his body lengthened, and his target was those jade tags that were tied up by ropes. Who is this guy? He is way too arrogant. He wants to take the jade tag as soon as he comes in. Indeed, although he is a late-clasping Yuan Realm warrior, he would still fall down if he is hit by dozens of colorful lights. Indeed, a late-clasping Yuan Realm warrior was too careless, he thought that it would not be a problem for him, and ended up being hit by dozens of colorful lights. The good thing is that those colorful lights are special, they won't hurt any of the contestants. Otherwise, this place would have been covered in blood and piles of bones. The second challenge was not easy at all. Hundreds of contestants had been completely suppressed by those colorful lights, and couldn't move even an inch. Seeing Yi Chen rushing in without caring about anything else, they were all waiting to see him make a fool out of himself, in order to satisfy their frustration of not being able to move even an inch forward. Boom! 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 The colorful lights were attacking at an extremely fast speed. Some places were relatively thin, while some places were terrifyingly dense. they interweaved into a despairing sky net. Of course, there was a pattern to it as well. For example, after a certain place had been attacked for a while, it would slow down in the next second, and become a temporary safe zone. Many contestants before had relied on this pattern to get their jade tags and pass the second challenge. However, for those contestants who were not as observant and had a weak mentality, it was quite difficult. Some of them had clearly found the pattern, but because they couldn't handle the pressure, they made mistakes in their calculations, and were knocked out by the colorful lights. In the sky net formed by the colorful lights, Yi Chen's figure was like a dream, moving back and forth. Every time people thought that the colorful lights had hit him, they would only find out that they had only hit an afterimage left behind by the colorful lights. In other words, even under the colorful lights, Yi Chen was still moving at an extremely fast speed. Under the strong visual impact, the contestants nearby had an illusion that the colorful lights had slowed down. Ah! A contestant's protective Zhenqi had been shattered, and he had been knocked out completely. He was indeed one of the contestants who had thought that the colorful lights had slowed down. The others were alerted. It was not because the colorful lights had slowed down. It was obviously because Yi Chen's speed was way too fast and weird. It had caused the colorful lights to follow him closely, but could not hit him at all. With the jade tag in his hand, Yi Chen's body flashed once, passing through the gaps of the sky net formed by the colorful lights and landing on the second cable bridge. Damn! How could this be? I don't think I have seen him before. I have not seen him either. I think he is a new young warrior. This year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is indeed the most exciting one in the past 1,000 years. There are already a lot of old martial geniuses, and there are even more new ones. Judging from that guy's power, he should be able to at least be in the top 30. Maybe even the top 20. As for the top 10, I don't think there is much hope. Just look at Xikong Sheng and the rest of them, they are all like monsters. Stop talking. Let's get through this challenge first. The third challenge is the Jumping Dragon Gate, which is the hardest. Maybe we can go there and join in the fun. The cable bridge was miles long. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, Yi Chen had landed on the third platform. Right now, there were already 700 to 800 people gathered on this platform. Lu Hanshan, Zhu Mei, and Su Jing were standing at the back, quietly watching the others jumping towards the South City Gate. Yi Chen, you are here. Lu Hanshan turned around and was overjoyed. Zhu Mei and Su Jing had also turned around. Yi Chen laughed, I was a bit late. Luckily, I made it. I thought you would miss this year's competition. What a shame. Lu Hanshan was quite similar to Luo Xinglie. He was not jealous of other people who were more powerful than him at all. For him, the better rank Yi Chen got, the happier he would be. After all, the competitions of the Hidden Dragon rank were closely related to the luck of the martial institutions and individuals. The higher the rank, the smoother the development of the martial institutions would be. What kind of cultivation have you reached? Zhu Mei realized that she could not see through Yi Chen at all, so she asked. Yi Chen answered, late clasping Yuan realm. Gasp! The two gasped. They thought that they had already shortened the gap between them, but it seemed that the gap was getting bigger and bigger. Yi Chen's talent was no weaker than anyone in the South Rudra region. If it were not for the fact that he had cultivated for such a short time, it would not be impossible for him to reach the top 10. Su Jing was also a bit surprised. There were not many things that could surprise her, and Yi Chen was one of them. Moreover, he had surprised her more than once. Seriously speaking, she was the first one who noticed Yi Chen's talent, and she knew him the best. But of course, it was only relatively speaking. In fact, she did not know much about Yi Chen either. He was like a person who was shrouded in a dense fog that no one could see or touch. Compared to the top 10 young warriors, Yi Chen's aura did not have that kind of arrogant aura. Instead, he had a kind of sharpness that could cut through everything. Su Jing, long time no see. Yi Chen glanced at Su Jing, and the more he looked, the more shocked he became. Inside her body, there was a huge amount of Zhen qi. No, it should not be Zhen qi, it was a kind of qi that had been combined with her physical strength. If he had to describe it with one word, it would be qi power, an extremely horrifying qi power. After thinking about it carefully, Yi Chen realized why she did not make much progress in her cultivation. It turned out that she had merged all of her Zhen qi into her physical body to increase her physical strength. In this way, with only her physical strength, she would be able to crush warriors at the same level as her. 50,000 pounds, no, it should be more than 80,000 pounds. Yi Chen also had qi inside his body, which was jade-colored. Through comparison, he found out that the qi inside Su Jing's body was more than twice as much as his own. It was golden in color, without any impurities. In terms of quality, it was even better than his own jade-colored qi. Combining the two, both the quantity and the quality of her qi were far greater than his own. It seems like Su Jing has made much more progress than Luo Hanshan and Zhu Mei, and she has been improving her physical strength. I wonder what her peak power is like. Yi Chen thought to himself. Su Jing did not know that within such a short period of time, countless thoughts had flashed through Yi Chen's mind. All of her attention was focused on what was in front of her. The Dragon Gate leap was the most difficult one among the three challenges. The gravity in the abyss was even more terrifying than the abyss in the martial city. Apart from this, the warriors would be able to hear the roars of countless evil creatures coming from the abyss. Shoo! Someone had made it onto the top. It was the demon child, Leng Wuqing. His body slightly flashed in the air before he entered the South City gate steadily. As for the warriors who were ranked at the top, they were all standing on the top, looking down at the people below, including Xikong Sheng, the Fire Spirit Prince, and Lin Yun. Every time they saw someone who could not handle the gravity and was pushed to the side by the qi flow from the abyss, those who had made it onto the top would show their disdain. Chapter 243. The platform was very big, and there were dozens of people leaping towards the south gate at every moment. However, only 1/3 of them could succeed, and most of them started to fall halfway. There were also a few people who were only a few meters away from the south gate, and unfortunately, they fell down. It was a pity that everyone felt sorry for them. You can't even make it to the south gate, and you still want to join the competition? On the south gate, someone sneered. Soon, it was Yi Chen's and the others' turn. I'll go first. Lu Hanshan took a deep breath, pushed his great Luo Zhen qi to its limit, took a few steps forward, then leapt into the air, shooting towards the south gate like an arrow. The red light left a trace in the air, and soon, Lu Hanshan was less than 20 meters away from the south gate. At this moment, an invisible gravitational force burst out from the bottom of the abyss, dragging Lu Hanshan's body. Right after that, countless roars of evil beasts could be heard, piercing into his ears and disturbing his mind. Ah! No! Lu Hanshan's face twisted. His Zhen qi slowed down, and his whole body fell down from the air. In the end, he was pushed to the side by the airflow in the abyss, and was disqualified from the competition. Seeing Lu Hanshan fail, Zhu Mei's face turned serious. She pushed her Zhen qi to its limit, releasing a sharp Zhen qi from her body. She flew towards the south gate with a pair of cold eyes. On the way, her body shook intensely, but she finally made it to the top. She had successfully jumped through the dragon gate. Shoo! As soon as Zhu Mei went up, Su Jing also went up. She didn't stop even for a second, as if the invisible gravitational force and the roars of the evil beasts didn't affect her at all. This girl is not bad. I wonder which martial institution she is from, but she is qualified to be my concubine. The head disciple of the Sky Falling Martial School, Lin Yun, looked at Su Jing with a judgmental look. Although Su Jing didn't have a devastatingly beautiful appearance, nor did she have a temperament that could bring calamity to a country, she was definitely a rare beauty. Her bright eyes and slim body gave people a sense of heroism, but also a sense of elegance. Other than those who were ranked at the very top, everyone else treated Su Jing as their greatest enemy. The Dragon Gate leap was the last of the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate, and it was also the most difficult one. It was not rare to pass it, but it was rare to pass it without any pressure. At least until now, there were less than 50 people who could pass it easily. The others more or less struggled, and some almost failed. Yichen wasn't surprised that Su Jing had passed. With a sway of his body, he also arrived at the south gate. His speed was even faster than Su Jing's. An expert, an absolute expert, someone exclaimed in a low voice. There are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in this year's competition. I didn't expect there to be such an expert. I haven't heard anything about him before. Leaping through the dragon's gate doesn't mean anything. A battle isn't something that can be resolved by leaping through the dragon's gate. Only strength is fundamental. There were also people who were unconvinced. Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng let out a slight gasp. They could obviously tell that Yi Chen had become much more powerful than before. It seemed that after they separated, Yi Chen had improved once again, and this time, he had improved tremendously. At least, he could threaten the top 30 contestants of the last Dragon Gate now. Long time no see. Murong Qingcheng gave a faint smile. Last time, if Yi Chen hadn't shown up in time, she and Qi Xiaofeng wouldn't have been able to make it here. Now that they met again, it would be too rude of her not to greet him. It wasn't her style. Yi Chen grinned and said, "It seems like you've improved a lot." "So have you," Murong Qingcheng said in an easygoing tone. The two of them walked quite close to each other, chatting with each other. Their actions instantly attracted a lot of gazes, which contained admiration, confusion, and even more jealousy. Who was Murong Qingcheng? She was the second disciple of the rank 6 martial institution, the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School, and one of the top 2 beauties of the Black Dragon Empire. She had both talent and beauty, and was the most perfect partner in the eyes of many warriors. Normally, it would be great to talk to her, and no one would dare to have too much hope. If it had always been like this, it would have been fine. After all, if they couldn't have her, no one could have her. But now, Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen were walking so close to each other, and they even seemed to be a bit intimate, which was a huge blow to their self-esteem. They couldn't help but think to themselves, this brat is not as talented as Xikong Sheng and the other warriors, and he is not that handsome either. What right does he have to walk together with Murong Qingcheng? Yi Chen seems to know Murong Qingcheng, Zhu Mei said to Su Jing. Su Jing nodded and did not say anything. Zhu Mei sighed, it is getting more and more difficult to see through Yi Chen. He has been out training for more than a year, and I wonder what kind of experiences he has had. Even Murong Qingcheng has some connections with him. She had been living in the Windy Nation for a long time, and was the pride of the Sky Cloud Martial School. However, she still knew herself. No matter if it was appearance, temperament, or talent, Murong Qingcheng was way more powerful than her. Plus, her status was way beyond hers. Therefore, in her imagination, Yi Chen, who had the same status as her, would not have any connections with these people. Lin Yun and Mo Yan had a cold look on their faces. As the head disciple of the rank 6 martial school, the Skyfall Martial School, Lin Yun thought that he was the most talented one. Even Xikong Sheng might not be able to beat him. His biggest advantage was his king bloodline. All the women that he had his eyes on were all extremely talented and beautiful. Plus, he had already ranked them in his mind. For example, Su Jing was top rank, and could be his concubine. Murong Qingcheng was naturally top rank, and would be his woman in the future. If it were Xikong Sheng who was talking to Murong Qingcheng, he might not be this annoyed, since it was a fair competition. But who was Yi Chen? He did not know him at all, and he only had a bit of power. What gave him the right to talk to his woman? Mo Yen was different from Lin Yun. He and Murong Qingcheng were both disciples of the Sky Demon Martial School. They were not really close, but they were not strangers either. All this time, he had always treated Murong Qingcheng as his woman, and thought that the others would not have any chance at all. What made him happy was that Murong Qingcheng had never had too many interactions with anyone, including the princes of the Black Dragon Empire. However, today, Murong Qingcheng was talking to someone he had never seen before, and her tone seemed to be even better than him, the head disciple. A strange sense of danger appeared in his heart, and he started to hate Yichen. Qingcheng, who is this guy? Why don't you introduce us? Lin Yun revealed a warm smile to Murong Qingcheng. He then glanced at Yichen, which was as sharp as a blade. Murong Qingcheng said lightly, just a friend. You do not need to get to know him. Hee, is that so? The poetic perspective of the sky falling great art was poured into his eyes. Lin Yun looked at Yichen with a big smile on his face. His eyes were like shooting stars falling onto the ground, ready to destroy everything. You are finally here. Oh right, I still do not know your name. Tua Baku stood between Lin Yun and Yichen as he said with a smile. Yichen said, Yichen. My name is Tua Baku. If there is a chance, let's have a drink together. Tua Baku had taken over Yichen, and even Murong Qingcheng was blocked out. Maybe for him, politeness did not matter at all. Talking to someone he was interested in was the happiest thing for him. Murong Qingcheng did not mind it at all. She smiled and went back to where she was standing. Ha! Not being able to trick Yichen, Lin Yun thought to himself, count yourself lucky. Don't ever run into me in the competition. Otherwise, you will lose all your face. Zhu Mei opened her eyes wide, no way. He knows Yichen as well. But how come he does not even know Yichen's name? Tua Baku's power was obvious to everyone. He was able to compete with Xikong Sheng and the rest. Although it was just his aura, it had already proved his power. Brother Yi, I knew it. You will definitely come to the competition. Ha, Yichen, it has been a year, and you have grown even more powerful. Yichen, I did not expect you to know the second knight as well. Tian Hao, the disciple of the alchemist martial school, Lin Yu, the disciple of the Dragon Tiger Mountain, the fourth knight and the sixth knight from the Moon Pavilion all approached Yichen. They were all his old friends. This scene had shocked a lot of people. Who is this brat? It seems like a lot of people know him. It is indeed unexpected. Perhaps he is a hidden warrior. We should not underestimate him. Tian Hao was Meng Chao's junior disciple, and was quite powerful. Lin Yu was ranked 70th in the last Hidden Dragon competition, and had improved a lot by now. He was one of the most popular contestants for the top 72. As for the latter two, although they didn't know them, judging from their Jin Qi vibration and the sense of power they released, they were obviously not ordinary young warriors, and they also had a chance to get into the top 72. So many people knew Yichen, and seemed to be quite close to him, which was quite surprising. It also meant that Yichen was not as simple as he looked. After all, geniuses usually made friends with other geniuses, and rarely made friends with ordinary people. A bunch of ants. Lin Yun said with disdain. Xikong Sheng and the rest of the people did not even look at Yichen. If it were not for Murong Qingcheng, Lin Yun and Mo Yen would not pay attention to Yichen either. They were a group of people who were high above the masses. No matter their status, talent, or comprehensive ability, they were all above the others. In their eyes, Yichen and the rest of the people were indeed ants. Perhaps they still had some power right now, but after 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years, the gap between them would only get bigger and bigger. In the true spirit continent, the gap between martial geniuses was way bigger than one could imagine. Some martial geniuses would stop at the clasping yuan realm, while some would stop at the astral reaching realm. Only a small part of them would be able to reach the seas of Soul's realm. Without any surprises, they would all reach that realm, and even have the chance to reach the life and death realm. But what about Yi Chen and the rest of them? Being able to reach the late astral reaching realm would already be their limit, and they would not be able to catch their attention at all. As he was talking to the crowd, Yi Chen glanced at Lin Yun. His subtle movements were not hidden from him at all. If it were not for Tua Baku's timely appearance, he would not mind competing with his eyesight first. The poetic perspective of the lone peak kill and the sky-shattering clouds had been trained to an extreme by him, and he had never used all of his power before. He had hidden his 70% sword intent even more, because once he released it, it would hurt innocent people. Gradually, there were less and less people making it to the top of the dragon door. There were only a few of them left. Some of them did not have much confidence and were trying to figure out a way, while some of them were waiting for the others to make their moves and calculate their own success rate. Regardless, making it to the top of the dragon door was their biggest goal. If they could not even make it, it would be a huge blow. As time went on, the last person had made his move. It was a failure. Clatter. The 3 challenges of the dragon door sank down, and the cracked ground started to close up in the middle. The South City gate was tightly shut, locking the young generation inside. Then, the side doors on both sides of the city gate opened up, which was the entrance for the rest of the people. Chapter 244. The South City Gate was the Dragon's Gate. Only the younger generation who had leapt onto the Dragon's Gate could pass through. The others had to enter through the side doors on both sides, including the experts of the 7 rank 6 sections. The city gate was closed, and the young generation in the city were qualified to participate in the knockout competition. The young generation who did not pass the 3 tests of the Dragon's Gate had lost their qualification and were reduced to spectators. Yi Chen estimated that there were around 700 people who had passed the 3 trials. This was less than 30% of the total number of people who had come. This was a frightening elimination rate. As for the young generation of the Windy Nation who had gone to this place, quite a lot of them had passed the test, including Young Master Emerald, Zhuang Fei, Young Master North Snow, Young Master Su Wen, Fast Blade Lynch, Fairy Lotus, Qin Yulian, Yi Chen, Su Jing, and Zhu Mei. There were a total of 15 participants from the Windy Nation. 13 of them were disciples from the top 5 martial institutions, and the other 2 were young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family and the head disciple from a rank 9 institution. 7 out of the 15 participants had made it to the Dragon Gate, which was unimaginable. Among the 36 small nations, some of them only had 1 disciple who had made it to the Dragon Gate, and the lucky ones only had 2 or 3. Even the Rudra nation, which was the leader of the 36 small nations, only had 6 disciples who had made it to the Dragon Gate, which was not as good as the Windy Nation. This was something that was almost impossible to happen in the past. No matter what, the Windy Nation was still in the middle or lower reaches of the 36 small nations, which was at the bottom. Of course, among the 7 people from the Windy Nation who had passed the 3 challenges, the Sky Cloud Martial School had taken 3 of them, which was the main reason why the Windy Nation was so outstanding. In the last Hidden Dragon rank competitions, only the young Master Emerald from the Windy Nation had made it into the top 72. Whether he could make it into the top 72 was still unknown, since a lot of people from the last Hidden Dragon rank competitions had not grown up yet. Now, after 3 years of training, their power had already reached a horrifying level, which had surpassed many of the older martial geniuses. Yi Chen was a living example, and so was Lynch from the North Snow Martial Academy. There were so many martial geniuses who had grown up from other nations. All in all, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competitions were full of uncertainties. No one could make a decision until the last moment. Damn it! How could he improve so fast? How could he reach the late clasping Yuan realm in just 1 year? In the crowd, Yuan Hengying had a bad look on his face. As the head disciple of the Sky Eagle Castle Martial School, Yuan Hengying had never lost to anyone. It was normal for him to lose the last hidden dragon rank competitions, since he did not think that he had the power to be the champion. But among the 9 nations, there were not many people who could scare him. Normally, it was people who were scared of him, which made him feel so good. Until he met Yi Chen. He thought that he was just a prey, but he did not expect that this prey would be so powerful. Even if he and Zhuang Fei joined hands, they would still not be able to beat him and were badly wounded. Since then, Yuan Hengying had been training like crazy. He planned to reach the mid-clasping Yuan realm within a short period of time, and then find Yi Chen to make him pay. With the support and spending of all the resources from the Sky Eagle Castle Martial School, Yuan Hengying had reached the mid-clasping Yuan realm 2 months ago. Added with the few powerful martial skills that he had learned, he thought that he could beat Yi Chen, humiliate him and torture him. On the South City Gate, just when he was feeling proud of himself, Yi Chen attacked him again. He could not understand how Yi Chen had improved his cultivation. Even if he had been taking pellets every day, it would still be impossible for him to improve so fast, not to mention the side effects of taking pellets. He must have used some great treasures to improve his cultivation, which is why his foundation is not stable. Although my cultivation is still 1 level lower than his, I have improved a lot in other aspects. My attacking power is more than 2 times more powerful than when I was in the Heaven Dream Ancient Place. Since he could not figure it out, Yuan Hengying thought that Yi Chen did not get his cultivation by himself, and that he might have a chance to beat him. After looking around for a while, Yi Chen's eyes focused on the rows of walls on both sides. There were some strange carvings on the walls, which were all strange paintings. The content of each mural was similar. Below, there were martial artists and demons with the strength to uproot mountains and overturn rivers and seas. They were terrifyingly strong. However, in the sky, there was a humanoid figure with its arms spread open. Chains descended from the void and bound the bodies of the martial artists and demons. Ancient cities are completely different from modern cities. I wonder what these paintings are for. Yi Chen did not understand, so he moved his eyes back. Right then, some people walked in from the side door. Powerful warriors from the 7 rank 6 martial institutions were leading the way, followed by hundreds of rank 7 martial institutions. Behind them were the most common rank 8 and 9 martial institutions. Disciples from the Floating Mountain Martial School, follow me to find a place to live. Disciples from the Fire Spirit Martial School, come out. All the rank 6 martial institutions had more than 1 or 2 people who had passed the 3 challenges of the Dragon Gate. Instead, there were dozens of them, which made up almost 40% of the martial institutions. With so many geniuses, as long as they did not make any mistakes, they would continue to be powerful. If there were 1 or 2 powerful martial geniuses, they might be able to bring their martial institutions to the next level. Compared to them, the martial institutions below rank 7 were much weaker. Many of them were just going through the competition, and there were many rank 7 martial institutions among them. You 3, come with me to find a place to live. Luo Xinglie and the others walked over and said. Zhu Mei asked, Leader, aren't we going to compete today? The headmaster laughed, there are more than millions of warriors out there. We can't just let them watch, can we? Therefore, there is no competition for the first 2 days. We will let all the martial institutions and all the lone warriors choose a place to live. Once everyone is settled, the competition will officially begin. That would work, since the Hidden Dragon Ancient City was empty anyway. There were a lot of buildings, which would be more than enough for everyone to live in. If the competition started right after they arrived, it would be very chaotic, which would cause a negative impact. Yi Chen nodded to himself. He did not know who had made this rule, but it was very humane. The buildings in the Hidden Dragon Ancient City did not belong to anyone. Therefore, if one wanted to choose a place to live, one would have to consider the power and status. Some of the more luxurious buildings would not be something that normal clasping Yuan realm warriors would dare to touch. Only the astral reaching realm warriors would have the priority. As for the Sky Cloud Martial School, it was a ranked martial institution after all. Warriors below the astral reaching realm would not dare to mess with them. Soon, under Luo Xinglia's lead, everyone had chosen a big yard in the middle of the city. The buildings in the Hidden Dragon ancient city were simple but elegant. Inside the building, it was not as broken as they had imagined. Instead, it had an ancient feel to it, and the furniture was very clean. After slightly cleaning the room, Yi Qin stopped. Walking out of the room, Yi Qin saw Luo Hanshan. Luo Hanshan had lost the right to join the competition, but as a clasping Yuan realm warrior, he still had the right to enter the Hidden Dragon ancient city to watch the competition. "Brother Luo, are you alright?" Yi Qin did not know how to address Luo Hanshan. In terms of power, he should call him Brother Luo, but it did not feel right, and it would make him feel like an outsider. If he called him Luo Hanshan, it would sound a bit mushy and inappropriate, and calling him Luo Hanshan would still make him feel like an outsider. In the end, he decided to call him Brother Luo, since there were no outsiders here anyway, and he was older than him. Luo Hanshan forced a smile and said, "It's all right. It's my own problem that I couldn't make it to the Dragon Gate. The world rewards the diligent. Speaking of which, when I reached the clasping Yuan realm, I was not as hard-working as before. Therefore, this is a lesson that I will never forget." Yi Qin secretly sighed. In fact, if Luo Hanshan had made it to the Dragon Gate, he might have been able to beat a couple of martial geniuses who were at the same level as him, which would help him train himself. Unfortunately, he had failed at the last step, as he had not been able to block out the evil sound. Otherwise, the gravity of the abyss would not have dragged him down all of a sudden. If he missed this opportunity, Luo Hanshan would not have the chance to join the next competition, since he was already too old. "Let's go out for a walk. This is my first time coming to the Hidden Dragon ancient city," Luo Hanshan said. "All right." Yi Qin nodded. The Hidden Dragon ancient city was huge. If a family of 4 people lived in it, it would be able to accommodate tens of millions of people. However, all the martial artists who came here were above the clasping Yuan realm, and none of them liked to live in the same house with others. Therefore, basically, each of them had their own building, and those who were close to each other would live in the same yard. Correspondingly, the roads in the Hidden Dragon ancient city were very wide. At first glance, it was at least hundreds of meters wide. The ground was paved with gray ancient stones, which were perfectly square. If one looked carefully, one would be able to see some patterns carved on them. The two walked on the road side by side, sighing at the ancient buildings. Life and Death Realm warriors can live for 1,000 years, which means they have experienced 10 lifetimes for normal people. This ancient city has been standing for at least hundreds of thousands of years, much older than Life and Death Realm warriors. Sensing the ancient qi coming from the buildings, Luo Hanshan could not help but say. Yi Qin said, "Everyone will die one day, unless they have surpassed life and death." This sentence was said unintentionally, but it made Yi Qin confused. Is there a realm above the Life and Death realm? There were a lot of clasping Yuan realm warriors walking on the road. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the crossroad in front of them. "Damn! My attacking power is only 42, how is this possible? Mine is only 43, let's try again. Hee, mine is more than 50. Yi Qin was a bit curious, he said to Luo Hanshan, "Let's go check it out." There were a lot of people at the crossroad. The two squeezed into the crowd and found a stone pillar standing in the middle of the crossroad. It was 1 meter tall and 3 feet wide. A thin crystal piece was stuck on the bottom half of the stone pillar, which was deeply embedded in the stone pillar. There were 8 rows of crystal stones on the top of the stone pillar, 10 crystals in each row. Earlier, a clasping Yuan realm warrior had hit the crystal on the bottom, and the crystals on the top had lit up. 53 crystals had lit up in total, and the highest was 80. Is this to test the attacking power? Luo Hanshan was surprised. Yi Chen's observation was even more detailed than Luo Hanshan's. He found that early clasping Yuan realm warriors could barely get more than 50 crystals, and late clasping Yuan realm warriors could get between 50 and 60 crystals. In other words, these crystals corresponded to the levels of the warriors. The first and second rows were for mortal realm warriors, the third and fourth rows were for condensing reality realm warriors, the fifth and sixth rows were for clasping Yuan realm warriors, and the seventh and eighth rows were for astral reaching realm warriors. Let me try. A young warrior walked up to the stone pillar. Boom! As he kicked on the crystal piece, more than half of the crystals on it lit up. 54 crystals. He is only a mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior, isn't he? His attacking power is even higher than that late-clasping Yuan realm warrior. If 60 crystals were the limit of a clasping Yuan realm warrior, then 54 crystals were already a very high attacking power, not to mention that he was only a mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior. Luo Hanshan couldn't help but go up and try, and the result was 45 crystals, which was quite normal. I didn't expect that there would be an attacking power testing pillar here, let's just play around. Another young warrior walked up, and someone recognized him. He was Qian Yun, the second disciple of the rank 6 martial institution, the Sunset Martial School, one of the most popular contestants for the top 10 this time. Boom! The crystal pieces lit up, 60 crystals, full value. The 60th crystal shone for a long time, and finally turned red, which meant that his attacking power had already surpassed 60 crystals, but was still not at the level of 61 crystals. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.